Now start going to your phone, and it should be on my Facebook page, Cardinal Cowboy. First, no, the second one.
Okay.
I should have kept playing.
Yep, that's it right there.
Yep. Cool. All right, so now we go here. We go share.
So I'm gonna click share.
Yep. And then you just type there. So that will go on your personal page, and then you can change it to your group, your business page there if you want. And it'll just post it out.
Okay. Will it do both personal and business?
You guys do it separately, so you'll post again. You'll share it one more time after you share this one, and then do it again.
Let's go ahead and hit share now.
Yeah. Cool. Unless there's an edit to this.
Should run a charger.
I got one.
Samsung.
Yeah.
Swipe the text. Been pretty good.
Yeah. All right, so okay, so comment. So I'm going to put a comment. I'm going to share it real quick. I don't know why it doesn't repeat, but I'm going to hit it again. And I'll put it out to just a couple groups. And then we're going to do our thing. Okay, there's that. Share group. I am. Okay. There we go. Got a bunch of people watching them. All right, everybody, stay tuned. We're about to launch here. Just seconds away, actually. Giddy up. And so our YouTube link. Here it is. So.
Mark said he can't see anything.
Yeah, no, it's just us doing our thing right now. All right, in a second I'm gonna switch, but I'm gonna hit the record button here.
Am I actually sharing? Could you tell if I was sharing?
Yeah, it looked like you were. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hit the record button there. I'll turn this down. Ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing today? We're live in the studio. Everybody wave. Now we've got the cameras going here. Couple cameras, couple different views we can do. We have in the studio Mr. Drew Prater. Say hi to everybody, Drew.
Hi, everybody.
All right. So this guy played some pro baseball. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about home opener. Anybody heard about that? Is it coming up?
Think it's Friday.
They moved it.
They moved it.
They moved it from originally going to be tomorrow, and now it is going to be Friday. Tell us what you think about that. Make your comments there. We've got a good crowd watching here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. This is the Cardinal Cowboy Home Opener Show.
That's right.
We are going to share some fun here, and I had to have a special guest in here, somebody who's got some major league experience, who played in the professional leagues, was on a professional team's opening day or camp roster, right?
Yeah.
This close. And we'll talk about what happened there and where you went with that, and now what you do to really make a huge impact. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that is my guest here. I'm going to put the camera on him. So that's camera one. There he is, straight shot. That is Drew Prater. And so, Drew, introduce yourself. Tell everybody what you love about baseball and what you're doing a little bit.
I'm Drew Prater. I own Drew Prater's Baseball Express indoor training facility in O'Fallon, Missouri. I'm teaching kids the game the right way. We've got a production of teams that come through the organization and through the facility each and every year. We work with the local GAC high schools to get players caught up to speed, get them where they need to be for the upcoming season. We run camps and training lessons throughout the course of the winter. The Midwest Eagles Baseball Association is our club. It's a 501c3 non-for-profit, and that is our baseball organization. We've got teams between 9 and 18 years old. So if anybody's interested, feel free to check out our baseball club, MidwestEagles.org, or my baseball facility site, BaseballExpressSTL.com.
So, Drew, I'm going to switch back to camera two. I still got there's your tag there. Everybody can ever read that? Drew Prater, there it is. Played in the Pittsburgh Pirates system, drafted in 1996. I'm going to actually slide to I believe the next slide we got here coming up. There it is. Please, by the way, please like the Cardinal Cowboy YouTube channel. If you see the link below, we are broadcasting this kind of a simulcast through Facebook to YouTube. I'm a techie nerd, can pull off some tricks like that. We're broadcasting in both networks live right now.
So we got a techie nerd and a baseball nerd.
That's right. And if you want to make money, either one of us can help you learn how to make some money in those professions because we've done some good stuff. Good boy, to sit next to a guy who's actually played at the highest levels in the world, this close to the big leagues. And again, I want to tell everybody how far you got. AAA, right? Mm-hmm. And the guys who make AAA, true or false? I've talked to a few guys who've been there. They could be in the bigs. You could have been in the bigs. It's just, did somebody get hurt? Did somebody not make it because they had somebody in front of them that had a long contract and a big signing bonus and something they had to do to make sure they didn't look bad because they signed the wrong guy and they put a bunch of money into him. And tell us a little bit about that and what it was like to get drafted, Drew.
Well, I come from St. Louis, and the draft every year typically was something that we didn't look at much as a kid growing up. We always had our dreams, aspiration of playing professional baseball, just like any kid. Never even knew really when the draft was. Got closer into high school, started to pay attention, follow the game a little bit more, and you learn that the June draft is coming up. And each and every year through high school, we looked at the draft, we followed it, we studied the teams and what they were looking at doing, how they drafted the years before, and I didn't really have any inclination that I was going to get drafted until actually my senior year. I was converted from a catcher to a pitcher, and I went to McClure North High School in Florissant and got on the mound my senior year and really impressed some people and had the right people there to see me throw and pitch the right games. And never in a million years did I think I was going to get drafted in the second round, especially the first pick. However, it did happen, and I was drafted by Pittsburgh in '96, and I was the 36th pick overall in the nation. Getting that opportunity, is like winning the lottery for a kid's mind. It's something that you'll never take away from me when it comes to that opportunity and that fulfillment of sense of accomplishment. And it just, it really didn't sink in until after I got into rookie ball and into pro ball that where I was and what I was actually doing and about to accomplish.
Well, Drew, making it to the level that you did, I mean, let's step back first. What was it like the day you got picked? I mean, everybody talks about it. They have like live streaming shots of guys waiting to get picked and the whole family's around. Was it like that? What was it really like?
It's actually a pretty bizarre story. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it, man.
Okay. So I was already into summer baseball, and this was after graduation. I graduated in May, and my summer team, the St. Louis Pros, was actually already into our schedule of games. And I knew the draft was on that particular day that I was going to go have a tournament that weekend, and the draft was on Saturday and Sunday. I was actually on the mound the minute I got drafted, pitching for my summer league team, and didn't think anything of it, but my dad and a few of his friends decided to show up to the game a little bit late. And they all walked up to the field with a Pittsburgh Pirate hat on, and I didn't think nothing of it because I was on the mound. My focus was where it needed to be. And we actually had an announcer at the games back then, and they did a really nice job with the St. Louis Pros, and they actually stopped the game, pulled me out of the game, and put me on the bench and didn't give me any answers. They just brought in another guy to pitch for me. And eventually the game ended, and I was questioning the coach, how come you pulled me, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, my dad and his friends come over, and I still don't know. I didn't know until I actually got home that I had been drafted by Pittsburgh, although my dad was wearing a Pirates hat. It was a little bit strange. I felt like that was the team that took me, but I didn't know. They were kind of holding it away from me. Finally got the voicemail on the answer machine at the house, and it was Grant Britton with the Pittsburgh Pirates and Paul Tennell explaining the opportunity that I was going to get. Well,
I mean, that's a kid's dream come true. I mean, being a kid that loved baseball, grew up playing baseball, believed that that's what I was going to do professionally. I had a lot of excitement. I had won the same award that later David Freese and Ryan Howard won. Slava, you played Slava also?
Yes, I did.
Right? That's kind of the Premier League at the time.
Played and coached in Slava.
Did you? You coached Slava too. It just seems that what are the odds? Statistically, what are the odds? And then to be drafted number 36, the first pick of the second round. I mean, that's you're the 31st, like 36, I guess, a couple of whatever that worked out.
A couple of supplemental picks in between.
Okay. And to be at that level, I mean, that is just, I mean, kids get drafted 50. Cliff Polite is a friend of mine. And Cliff and I grew up in the same neighborhood. And we knew about how he got drafted, and we were kind of watching. I'm a couple years older than Cliff. And they talked about it. I mean, it was kind of the supplemental late draft for 53rd round and whatever. And there weren't a whole lot of people that make it out of that late of a draft. And that's why Cliff was such an extraordinary story, because he had it, man. We knew he was good. That kid could throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball in the 6th grade, I swear. We grew up with him in the same neighborhood. But your expectations aren't quite the same at that level, right? When you're and you're glad you got a shot, and his dad, I think, played a little bit too. But when you're the first draft pick of the second round, you said, I think we're talking pre-show a little bit, 900 people were drafted?
I think over 3,000.
3,000 total draft picks.
Yeah, that year.
That year, I don't know where the 900 came from, but it was more than that. It was 3,000 people drafted. You were in the top 1%, 1.6 or whatever that breaks down to.
It's humbling.
Think about that for a minute. And so then, what's going through your mind at that point when you're going, I think this is pretty much where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. And tell us a little bit where it went and how it was for you. What was the next big step for you?
Big step was finally being away from mom and dad. And, you know, you're 18 years old and you get drafted. You just graduated high school, and 3 weeks later you're driving to Florida and moving in. Went to Gulf Coast Rookie League in Florida in '96, and then eventually went to my first spring training after my first half season in rookie ball. Came home for the off season. Went to my first spring training in 1997.
So 97, you're rookie ball.
96 rookie ball.
96 rookie ball. 97. How quickly did you get up to A and then double A?
First spring training broke with Augusta Green Jackets. That was full season A.
Okay.
Spent some time there. That particular season got moved up to, it would have been Lynchburg, Virginia. And then from there, finished that season up, started the next season off in Lynchburg, which was high A. Spent some time in Lynchburg. Spent some time pitching for the Carolina Mudcats in double A that year also.
Carolina Mudcats. Now, that's all part of the Pirate system, right? And so how quickly then so help me understand this, because I'm also managing the circuit board here so you're up to double A at that point. When was the big call to triple A? And how did that work out? How long did it take?
I spent a couple years in double A. Then I had a shoulder surgery. Spent a big portion of that particular season rehabbing and recovering from shoulder surgery. Had off-season rehab as well. The next year, that particular off-season, I was signed by San Diego, and I went to spring training with San Diego. With San Diego was the big league spring training invite as a non-roster invite, and in that particular spring training, that particular summer, I felt like I had a really good chance.
Really? Now, was there injuries along the way? Tell us some of the hurdles that you had to overcome as a guy who was playing professional baseball.
Yeah, my fourth year in, I had to have labrum surgery and partial rotator cuff repair. They've got a couple anchors and screws in my shoulder to help reattach the labrum.
Wow.
So, you know, it was an extensive...
Did that happen on the mound? When did that injury hurt?
That injury hurt me on the mound. It was just a development of things over the course of time and the numerous throws that you make. You know, you build some instability in the shoulder and you try to maintain the strength and everything of it. And at some point, it decided it was going to rip on me, and I had to go get it fixed.
But how long were you out then from that injury?
13 months.
13 months. But you did. Do you feel you made a full recovery?
Yeah, I did. The problem is the endurance level never got back to where it was, being able to maintain the velocity for 94, 95 to 100 pitches. So at that point in time, I went into a bullpen relief situation because I could maintain it for 25, 30 pitches.
Well, and that's not a bad place to be, right? No. To be a hard-throwing advantage to be a lefty or a righty at that point in your career. What did you see? You were a lefty, is that correct?
Righty.
You were righty, of course. Do you see some of the guys came up as lefties, though, is the point that they threw mid-80s, but because they were lefties?
Oh, yeah, they pushed the lefties a lot faster.
And they said, hey, if you're a lefty and you're bringing mid-80s versus the righty who's bringing, what was the highest you got clocked at?
97.
97 miles an hour. Now, that's a big league fastball.
Oh, yeah. You don't get 36 overall by not throwing that.
Was that where you clocked at what level? So when did you get drafted? Was that out of high school or was that?
High school.
Okay. So
I was a senior graduated 2 weeks prior to the draft.
Okay. Where did you go to high school?
McClure North and Florissant.
McClure North and Florissant, right up the road here. Now, how well did your high school team do? Did that help at all? Some of the exposure, that they got for you because they did well. No,
we did. We had Brian Rupp. Who's a Cardinal manager in the minor leagues. He was an alumni of McClure North and graduated just a few years before I got there.
I'll tell you a story about Brian Rupp in a minute.
We also had Bobby Christian, who was a football player, John Vaughn, who was a football player, come out of McClure North, and we had an opportunity as athletes to get a chance to pick their brains and talk to them and speak to them. I also spent some time working with Al Nepper and my high school coaches, obviously Jim Schottmuller and Ned Mahan, made a huge impact in my career based upon the work ethics that they instilled in me.
Now, Al Nepper, his son, is he from St. Louis also?
Al Nepper was from St. Louis. He was a big league pitching coach with the Boston Red Sox for quite some time.
And then there's another Nepper I'm thinking of that I talked to a little bit. He ended up being kind of a big deal over in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Played a little bit of major league or big league ball.
Don't recall.
And I'm trying to remember if there's any relation there. So anyway, good coaching, good influence, a pretty good team.
Mm-hmm.
Were you the best player on the team?
No, I mean, I felt like I was, but it didn't seem like that based upon numbers and opportunities and things like that. I think, looking back at it now, I can maybe say that I had an advantage over a lot of kids. I just spent a lot of time with the ball in my hand. Every day, kids would go home, whether they were playing in the streets or basketball or whatever the case may be. There was always a sport going on, and typically I spent more of my time trying to push my neighborhood friends to play baseball than anything.
Okay, so you're on this team. Was Rupp on that team with you?
No, he had graduated. His younger brother, Kevin Rupp, was on my team. He was a senior when I was a sophomore.
And of the Rupps, who was the best player, do you think?
Brian.
Was Brian the best? Brian ended up. So I'll tell my little story real quick. Rupp and I. So I'm a little bit older than you.
Mm-hmm.
And Rupp, I played Slava. Rupp won the league MVP. So that was my claim to fame. Here I am in the picture of all the MVPs for our teams, and then we're all eligible to win the league MVP.
Right.
My team won the whole Midwest region. Sadly, our coach passed away not too long ago. They were cleaning out his stuff, and they found the Pony Championship ball because it's the Pony League, Slava, County Mac, whatever, and they competed with Legion, I guess. But won the Midwest region. I'm the most valuable player for my team. Brian Rupp won it for the whole league. A couple years later, he's got drafted by a little team out of St. Louis called the St. Louis Cardinals.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, and then and out-hit Derek Jeter in A-ball.
Yes, he did.
He out-hit Derek Jeter in A-ball, so had I not gotten hit by the drunk driver that I got hit by, who knows what would have happened. I'm here for a different reason.
That's right.
We can talk about that.
That's right.
But Rupp was quite the ball player, and he got stuck behind another decent third baseman for the Cardinals by the name of Scott Rowland, I believe. Is that his name?
He's a Hall of Famer.
He should be. Did he get in?
He's in the Cardinal Hall of Fame.
He's in the Cardinal Hall of Fame. But I know that. But so when you got those kind of athletes, and those are the guys you're playing with, and you're getting drafted, man, it's got to be exciting. You go all the way through it. Talk to us a little bit about what's it like now doing what you do. You are a professional coach. You have hundreds of kids and thousands that have probably come through there. Hundreds that you currently work with, or at least many, many dozens. I've seen some of the rosters and stuff you guys got. It's like, when you sleep, how many coaches you got there. But what's it like now? Now you're getting to have that real impact using the skills that you had and to pass it on and help kids with. You were on our Cowboy Judge show, and we really touched on you're impacting lives a little bit. That's what I think baseball. Baseball gave me the skills to come through my coma. When we were hit by a drunk driver, a lot of people didn't think I would. Crazy story we can talk about later. I ran into a trauma surgeon who told me that my odds, given what happened as I described it to him, he goes, "What's up with the cowboy?" I told him the story. He goes, "You're like 1 out of 50, probably 1 out of 100 that go through a coma and then become mostly functional." Some people question how functional I am, but I've done well enough to do in grad school and start my own company and stuff. But given all of that, tell me. What you're going to do with what's the impact you get to make here now?
This is the 14th year that I've done the facility with the training and the development, whether it's pitching, hitting, fielding, speed and agility, strength training. We try to cross all the T's and dot all the I's when it comes to developing these young athletes and giving them the skills. From the time I started till now, I have approximately 300 players playing college baseball that have come through my program and worked with me. Multiple players at the professional level. Some I can name, some I can't name because I work for other facilities at those times. However, the most important thing that I look at is how important it was for the people that influenced my life coming from a bad neighborhood, getting myself into a position to be driven for something. And to me, that's the most rewarding part of it, is seeing these kids driven towards the game. And even when they get into a situation where maybe they're going to fail and hang them up and call it a career, they all move on into successful lives. And to me, that's the most rewarding part.
And that's where you really get to make the impact and do what you do. And baseball obviously has had a major influence on you with what you get to do. Mm-hmm. With the skills you're passing on, the skills you learned in doing it.
Yeah, like I said, I was taught by the best coaches in the world from the time I was 18 till the time I retired from playing, and it means something to have the knowledge that I have and not just pose as a good coach. I feel like I do have a lot to offer when it comes to the biomechanics of throwing the baseball, hitting the baseball, striking it with force, all the little intangibles that go along with being a good player. And I could connect with a lot of the college coaches in the area and across the country. And again, if you're sitting at home and you've got a son that's interested in playing this game at a high level, give me a call.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put it back up on the screen there. Drew Prater, owner, BaseballExpressSTL.com.
Yep.
Owner, baseball, and it's an X instead of EX, XPRESSSTL. There's 3 S's in a row there.
Correct.
Make note of that. That's all right. BaseballExpressSTL.com. That's where they can find everything. Let's bring up your site here. I know we've got a switcheroo here with some of my technology to do so, but I'm going to pull this down and keep talking. So tell everybody how long you've had that particular clinic.
I incorporated my business in 2004, and I've worked in the St. Peter's, O'Fallon community. I've got kids coming from me from Mexico, Missouri, Ellsbury, Winfield, Clopton, and 2004 was the start year, and I launched it there. Actually worked and rented some space from another facility in the area just for that first year, and then moved into my own particular facility. Just a year and a half ago, I upgraded to a new facility, which is right there off of Highway 70 and Bryan Road at 9390 Veterans Memorial Parkway now. We've got a really nice facility. It's got 30-foot ceilings in it. Teams can open it up and use it for infield practice, or you can convert it into 6 really large cages.
Wow, so you've got quite the facility. So if everybody take a look at the screen here, we've got Drew in the corner, still talking there. I got you on the main camera. I'll put both of us in there because as I'm talking, people are like, where's that voice coming from? So this is your site now. Everybody's looking at the screen on our live feed. This is Drew's website. There it is. I mean, beautiful website. I think you multi-million-dollar baseball contracts allow for these incredible.
Easy.
Right. But this is a great-looking website, and I know your facility is incredible. I hear about all the kids. One of my closest colleagues, and we call him the executive. He's the executive producer for the Cowboy Judge show.
His son just joined a club.
Okay,
yeah.
Mike Carter, judge. He just won. He was reelected as judge.
Congratulations.
In Wentzville. Shout out to Mike Carter. And co-host with me, the executive producer of the Cowboy Judge show. But after meeting you, his son needs that little extra edge.
Yes,
and after talking to you a little bit, he said, Carter, you got a hold of me afterwards. He says, give me Drew Prater's information. I got to get a hold of him. I want my son. So he signed up, and give us a little intro. First steps. Somebody signs up with you. What's the first step for them?
Well, typically we have tryouts for the baseball club, Midwest Eagles. Obviously, you're seeing it across our chest here. We'll have tryouts in mid-July to late July every year. Just depends on how many rainouts we get and how many tournaments we have to put on the end of the year. We'll have tryouts in mid-July to late July. We'll form teams. We'll set them up to play a fall schedule. Then they go through the winter training and the off season with us, where we're working on their mechanics. We're running indoor practices, covering all the bases that we can cover indoors. Obviously, fly balls and some things that we can't do being indoors, but there's a lot of this game that we can, function and do indoors. Then we get into the high school portion. If it's a high school player, we typically lose touch with them for a few months. We've got a hands-off period between first day of high school tryouts. Our younger teams will operate at that point into getting their spring schedule started and running their tournaments through the spring and the summer, and then we repeat it again in the end of July.
Quite the schedule.
Yeah, it's extensive. I usually coach about 220 games a year.
People talk about that the athletes from the Midwest don't get to play baseball all year long like the rest of the country that's in the South. And the truth that's not true.
That's not true.
I talked to a buddy of mine, played pro ball for the Cardinals, Kerry Robinson, and said, because he's a scout now, and he talks about how they have the best athlete. It's spread out evenly across. There's no dispensation for people to play in the Midwest. Like the talent is everywhere.
It's a false lead that Midwest players don't develop as much as the players in the South and in the warmer climates. that's a false lead.
And what do you think is the biggest contributor to that fact?
I would say for a long time, there was a long time, especially when I was just coming up, that facilities weren't around, and now seems like there's one almost on every corner, like a McDonald's, and I think that has made a big contributing factor into developing the kids on a year-round basis. We can't go out and play a game in the snow. I mean, that's typical, but what we can do is take 100 ground balls the right way, work on our swing, do the things that we need to do, and play cage scrimmages when you look at the pitcher throwing live to the hitters and things like that. There's a lot of things that we can conquer, and sometimes that's a little more important than the game itself.
Yeah, and I'd say the people that I've talked to that talk about the people who've made it, and you find this true to be of any sport. I watched a video not long ago about Kobe Bryant, who they talked about. He actually, Kobe Bryant would go with the other kids in high school and go to the gym and practice while the other kids would go messing around and doing what they did. Mm-hmm. What I used to do as a kid was take ground balls all summer long, fly balls all summer long when I was a kid. I understood that Albert Pujols was the same way. He would work every day in the cage, hitting more than anybody else. Mm-hmm. Look at what happened. So is that kind of the theory here? It's not all about playing a live game. I mean, the truth is that live game, you get the ball hit to you 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. If you want to get good at catching a ground ball, you need about 1,000 of those hit at you in repetition in every angle and every bounce. Tell us what some of the advantage you play there.
I think from just the mass amount of repetitions that we can get. We do video analysis. We do a lot of mirror imaging work with the pitchers, with the infielders, and we break it down on a scale. Video is a very important factor in our training and development at this point in time. And again, I would rather the kid go into the cage, work with me, start to show signs of success, as opposed to just throwing them out in the game. And sure, the game's fun, but who wants to go 0 for 3 because you're not swinging right, or you're not picking up the ball, like you should, and things like that. So I just think that if you just throw your kids out on the field, they're going to lose interest in the game. Get them some help, spend some time, spend some money on developing their opportunity in this game, just like you would taking dance lessons or taekwondo lessons or anything that you're really wanting your son or daughter to be good at. We do offer softball at the facility as well, so I don't want to let that go without being said.
Okay, yeah, because there are a ton of girls out there who get really competitive with their softball.
They're very good,
and they've got skills that way too. And I was just watching, happened to be at dinner tonight, and they had girls softball in front of us on one TV and Major League Baseball on the TV over here. We're kind of going back and forth, and you watch these girls, man. They literally, they're over there. And they do this wind-up thing, and they're bringing it from, I think, is that 45 feet? Where they?
Yeah, I remember when Jenny Finch was striking out Pujols. Remember that?
Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah.
I had heard about that.
There's a couple YouTube videos on that.
And these girls are bringing it. So they bring it 68, 70? Is it
72, 74?
Okay.
I've seen them all.
But from 45 feet, that's like 150, right?
Like 119.
119.
Hit that.
Hit. Here's 119 mile an hour.
Hit that with you.
We got Jordan Hicks throwing top out at 105. Now you got to hit something. Are you joking? Or are you saying 119?
No, it's about the equivalent. Mid to upper teens in the one. Yeah.
That's insane. Wow, you talk about some kids there. All right, so Drew,
0.05 of a second to react.
0.05 of a second. Here we go. So let's talk about. I'm going to switch over here to, and we'll put this in the corner. I might make. Well, I know it's going to have to be up there. We will swap out there. But oops, I'm switching here. There we go. And we actually, we can use this if you want. If it's okay to go right here, we'll plug in, no problem. So we're gonna give Drew a little charge here too. It'll be over here if that's all right.
That's fine.
And so the big excitement now. Well, let's talk about the next segment of the show. And I was mixing up my mixer here a little bit. The next segment of the show, we want to talk about home opener.
No.
Home opener. We opened up with a little bit about
Christmas in St. Louis.
Christmas in St. Louis. We talked about it. But the truth is, I believe,
I think the city made the right call.
Yeah, you're going to have a cold, wet day. I put a comment up and posted everybody that happened, and one of the comments that came back was, a buddy who follows me in Kansas City said, "Be glad you guys switched that because it was terrible, rainy, cold over there in Kansas City, and they went ahead with it."
I think from the safety of the players' standpoint, you're paying these guys how much money to be out there? Would they just give Goldschmidt?
It was I want to say
Over 150
it
million.
was 150 million for
However,
3 years. No,
Five.
5 years.
5-year deal. They're the king of the 5-year deals. The Cardinals are, and they just locked up Goldschmidt. I mean, you don't want the guy to go out there, throwing a groin out, running down the first base line because he slips because it's wet.
Well, yeah, and just the impact that you have from enjoying the event as a Cardinal fan, right now you've got a whole bunch of people that are very cold and a little bit aggravated, and it's not as much fun.
Can we get this out of here?
And so what are they going to do? So let's give everybody a few home opener tips.
Yeah.
Talk about, from your perspective, being the guy that was on that roster, potentially going to get picked to go to the home opener. What are these players thinking right now that are new, that are coming up, that have done it before? Tell them, for them, what's the home opener? What would you expect as a fan that you need to pay attention to?
Just the way the St. Louis Cardinals do it, it's like no other. You really want to take it in and absorb it. But from a player's perspective, the parade around the field, those kind of things, it's fun for the fan. It's not so fun for the player to an extent that, he wants to get focused, get prepared for the game, do his pregame meal. Opening day is kind of its own animal. On a typical day, showing up to the ballpark, it's a little bit different. You get there, you get ready for BP. You don't have all these interviews or parades around the field, things like that. So it's a really big excitement for the player as well. But from a player's perspective, you guys know you have to get yourself mentally prepared and try to block out those kind of distractions that may appear on opening day.
And that's what the players are thinking about. From the fans' perspective, and how much input, is there a little extra pressure because you got all these fans that are harping and screaming and yelling, and does that add a little bit? You're a pro player at that point. You got to handle it, I guess, obviously.
Yeah, right? If it's the first game out of the gate, it's definitely a wake-up call. Now, with them starting on the road and having a few games, anybody that wasn't on the roster last year or has just got his particular first call-up kind of got those jitters out last series and the series before with Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. However, from a first-game standpoint, man, it's intense. Your butterflies are going. And
it's going to be nuts. Well, Kerry talked about that a little bit the other day and talked about how it is so just outrageous with the fans. He said it is more exciting, and then Mike followed up with, what about the game? And he's like, that's not the excitement, man. It's all these incredible fans that are going crazy and screaming and ranting and raving. It ends up being a mayhem out there and craziness. And I'm part of that. I get to see the excitement. I'm doing it from the stands. The players have kind of passed along through a couple people who know me, that know them, that saying they love what I try to do to get the fans going. And that's like having a 10th man or whatever. You try to get that when you get the crowd going. And who's going to get the crowd going? That's part of what I like to do. But I believe baseball saved my life. It allowed me to pull that ventilator out. So I'm giving back to the team and the organization and the sport that saved my life. And so home opener is just nuts. So here's a couple of my tips as a fan that I would say you need to definitely make sure that you pay attention to, because if you're not doing these things, you're going to miss out. Number one, I would say the best thing you can do is get there early. Get there early because it's a 3 o'clock game. They did move it from 3 o'clock Thursday to 3 o'clock. They didn't change the game time. 3 o'clock, 3:15, I think, is the actual game time on Friday now. But get there. Some people are going to get down there 9, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Do it.
And the key to that, right, if you're able to get down there that early, parking's not going to be such an issue. You're going to get the whole experience. So what I would talk about with regard to that whole experience, and this is kind of true, what I would say for anyone who goes to any Cardinal game, and that, anytime you get the opportunity, especially home opener, you want to take in the whole experience. And so I've got kind of a little pattern. You think I should share with everybody the little pattern that I go through, the path that I follow, the cowboy path that I follow. And so I've got good relationships with just about everybody down there. And there's a number of bars and restaurants that are
great establishments
that are all around the place. So I've got a good relationship, and I love parking for a couple reasons. But I love parking down my patios.
Yeah.
Which allows
south of the stadium.
So that's the south side of the stadium. I think you're going to get off at the 6th Street exit, and if you're coming from the west side, and you come down off to the exit to the right and come back behind a lot of it and turn right again, and then you're right in the middle of it. And there's the birdhouse, there's patios, there's Kilroy's. Yep. There used to be Verbowski's. I love that. We kind of miss some right now. But and then all that excitement that is all right there. Then you walk right up and you go right into the south entrance if you're there late, which many times I'm running up there. But if you get to do the whole experience, that's why you get down there early. You're going to want to go up to Keener Plaza, And then there's this new little facility some people have talked about called Ballpark Village. Have you heard about this thing at all, Drew? There's
Yes,
a thing called Ballpark Village. Have you been to Ballpark Village? What do you think about it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. They keep adding to it.
St. Louis is so lucky to have that place.
Every time I walk in there, my eyes open up.
Yes, and it is. Ballpark Village is the place to be. And that's why I say start off, and you can start to want to go to the other, but if you want to get the whole experience, I think you need to go to Patios.
Start south, work north.
Kilroy's. Birdcage, I think is right. Is it called the Birdcage?
Yeah.
The Red Bird place. It's right in the corner there. I go in there periodically. And then walk your way up and you can even, sometimes I cut through, I go into the stadium, watch the game, and come out at Ballpark Village to go to Ballpark Village after the game, and then go back down to where I parked. And then they've got these fun guys that ride around in their golf carts. And my buddies that do those, I'll give you a couple of names of those.
And you'll run into people with campers and 30-foot, 40-foot RVs.
Right.
You know, the way these
guys do
St. Louisans do it down there, man.
It is an absolute ton of people that
and make sure you eat before you come down.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Because there may be some lines, some pretty long lines to get a dog or something on the outside of the stadium before the game. There's that many people down there. Make sure you definitely grab something to eat.
Right, and if you get a chance to grab food at a number of those places, you can do that. But that's kind of the whole pregame thing that you want to make sure and get that experience. Especially on home opener, you're going to get that Keener Plaza. They've done historically, and then they move it over to the parking lot, which now is being built in. So we're going to wait to see what they've got going on. My buddy Todd Thomas will be leading the charge to entertain everybody there, so that'll be fun.
That'll be at Keener.
Hopefully that's in Keener this year because they need construction. But now so that'll likely be over at Keener, and then come back over to the game. Then you got to get into the game early because the game has a whole ceremony where they do. The people that have their numbers retired that are still around, people that are in the Hall of Fame, you'll see Bruce Sutter, Bob Gibson, go down the list, Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, LaRusse had come back in for a couple of those. And it's just a whole promenade, a parade onto the field. They come around, they do this whole thing, and then they've got sometimes every year I've seen, I believe they have the jets go flying over.
Yeah, they'll have some
Blue
F-15s. Angels or some F-15s. I think they have the Clydesdale March.
Right, and the Clydesdales come on the field and around. Maybe with the rain, we'll see what they do with that. But the Clydesdales come there from Budweiser, dun 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 dun, and then finally they do the national anthem. Take off your hat, and then the game is played, and it is a very intense game that literally is like a playoff game.
Yeah, from the first pitch on. You're on the edge of your seat. You know, the crowd just can't wait to erupt.
And it's so important that the Cardinals win that home opener, it seems like, because if they can pull off a winner for the home opener, that just sets the momentum. It gets it going. I know they kind of rotate. One year they're at home to start off, the next year they're away to start off. They started off 2-3 this year in second place. Milwaukee started off a lot. They could have beaten Milwaukee one of those games, but the other game they won. Some people say they shouldn't, but that's baseball. Keep it going and keep that momentum going. And then the party doesn't end. The whole game goes on, and then you end up with an after party, and that's why I think they do the whole city. And some people say 250,000 people downtown. Yeah. Only 45,000, 48,000 of them can fit in the stadium, right?
Now you know why they won it on a nice, clear day.
Yes, there's a lot of money to be made there with people.
It's very do it industry oriented for our community to have that day.
And it probably makes sense that they have that at 3:00 because then it's not too late. The game's over about 6:30, 7.
Now with it considering it normally is an early midweek opener we've had in the past few years, with it being a Friday, I can only imagine what the
everybody's off. It's going to be crazy. Friday. Everybody's off. I'm going on a trip. I got to leave at 6:00 in the morning Saturday.
Make sure you use Uber and Lyft, people.
Yes, and I might be going straight from the party down after the game to the airport.
Oh yeah, you're flying
at 6:00 in the morning. You have to be at the airport at 5.
Poor guy.
But what the heck? We'll sleep on the plane. But I mean, it's going to be absolutely insane. And so that's the whole event. And it's the after event that is also almost as fun. And if they win, it's crazy and nuts. And if they lose, which is it's not going to happen, it's still crazy fun. It's a little bit less, but it's just the excitement about the fact that the Cardinals home opener season, the season has started.
Yeah.
And we've got 150-something games left to play. And the entertainment that'll be included with that.
Oh, I can't wait.
How much does that impact your business? Is that
It does. It really does. People talking about baseball, when they pitchers and catchers report is usually when we get real hard and heavy with our rentals and a lot of people wanting instruction and things like that. And it just makes a huge impact for the baseball trainers in the area, the sports bars, all the local tournament directors that are putting on baseball events every week, and it's just really big and important for all of us.
Does it make it a little easier to run a baseball clinic in St. Louis because baseball is such a powerful? Everybody loves baseball.
Yeah, and the climate is right here. You know, it's not always going to be warm. We're going to have our cold months, so to have an indoor facility like that, it's and with a town that supports baseball, you know, to its highest level, and you can ask any major league player that's ever come through here, they'll answer that question the right way. You know, we are the best baseball town in the country. That's
what most people say, and after you've experienced it, I'm proud to be a quote-unquote super fan, and a lot of people do know the reason I do this is because a lot of people thought, Mike, I talked to some of my coaches since then, like, oh, you had what it took. It's just you got had a different plan. And little bash on the head there. Some people can see I'm sweating with my
it's
head.
In there.
But nothing oozed out here too terribly bad. You can see it if you look real close there. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's my little battle wound right there. And you know, but baseball really is such an essential part of life for me and for so many people. Mm-hmm. And the Cardinals really do an incredible job to make it awesome.
They do.
And we're going to make it happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Drew Prater, owner, Baseball Express STL.com. Right out here, probably 25 minutes from downtown?
30 minutes from downtown.
30 minutes from downtown, off of Highway 70. You can get there from anywhere in St. Louis within 35.
70 in Bryan.
70 in Bryan, and you want to get some great training from one of the best in the business that you can have access to, obviously, right here. And he's been doing it for coming up on 15 years. This
will be the next year, 15.
15 years.
Yeah, I'm getting old.
And so you got baseball experience for how many years were you in the league? Doing your thing.
11 competing 11 years.
11 years at the professional level, and now 50. So to almost a quarter of a decade of experience right here at either the professional level or training people at the professional level. So check it out. Get involved. Get a hold. Do you want to yell out your phone number?
Yeah, 636-978-8500. Once again, 636-978-8500.
And that, I mean, if it weren't for the Cardinals and your baseball stuff, I mean, I don't know if we would have as much skill out there. Tell us real quick as you wrap up here your favorite things you love about what you teach kids.
Just seeing them excel, seeing them advance in life and advance on the mound. You know, you see a kid that you started with at 9 years old, and he's, you know, rather uncoordinated, can't function the way you want him to function, and then by the time he's 15 and a half, 16, he's starting on his high school baseball team. To me, that's a huge accomplishment for both me and the player.
And if somebody wants to take it to the next level, do you recognize that many times? Is that something you can see?
Yes, and I can see it. If you want an evaluation, feel free to give me a call. I'll give you a real straight up front answer on where I think your son is, or your daughter for that matter.
Give me your number one more time.
636-978-8500.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. 636-978-8500. And Drew will help you and help your kids get the skills that they need. And there's that phone number for you, 636-978-8500. Drew Prater, ask for him personally. He will give you the skills, training, expertise, insight, so your kids can be good ball players, good people, and maybe get some skills for life that they won't get anywhere else.
That's right. Don't forget to like the Cowboy Show on YouTube.
There we go. Appreciate it. Yeah, we got it. Like the Cowboy Show on YouTube now. We're trying to expand that audience. There's some special things you can get to. I've got combined about 25,000 followers on my other social media networks. Most of that's Facebook, and most all that's on Facebook. And then I need YouTube has some requirements so you can get to the next level, which I'm not too far from, but that'll help us to raise money for some people. But there it is. Drew Prater. Appreciate you coming on the show.
I thank everything that you do, Carter. It's really important to the community.
Well, I thank you for that, and I want to see you keep doing. We'll keep working together on some fun stuff.
Absolutely.
636-978-8500. Baseball Express STL.com. I'm Carter Rethwish, known as the Cardinal Cowboy, and we hope that you guys learned a little bit about what we've got going on here, picked up some of our tips for life and for sports and for the love of baseball. And if it wasn't for baseball, I think there's a lot of people that would agree that
life would be boring.
This city would not be the way it is. This country probably would not be the way it is. So that's the way we need to keep it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you staying tuned. Giddy up. We'll talk to you again soon. Woo!
Are we off?
Yep. We're still recording a few places, so let me, before you
Get crazy. Stop.
There's that one. And then we'll stop. And we'll get some music going here for you. And I can go actually, we're going to slide this down. There it is. And I'm going to switch it. And thanks, everybody. Giddy up.